Imagine a day when the sky darkened, not with storm clouds, but with a silent, sweeping terror. A day when 70,000 lives were extinguished, not by war, not by natural disaster, but by a divine decree. Why would a loving creator unleash such devastation? We often picture the ancient world as a brutal place, where divine wrath was a common explanation for natural tragedy. But this specific event was deeply unusual. It was not a punishment for idol worship. It was not a judgment on gross immorality or violence. The devastating plague that wiped out 70,000 people in a matter of days was the result of something far more subtle, something we do every single day without a second thought. It was the direct result of a census. The mere act of counting. Why would counting people trigger the wrath of the divine? On the surface, it makes absolutely no sense. A census is merely an administrative tool. It is how societies organize and prepare. Yet, in the deep spiritual realm, counting is never just about simple numbers. To count something is to subtly claim ownership over it. When the ancient king ordered the numbering of his men, he was no longer trusting the invisible hand of providence. He wanted measurable data. He desperately needed to quantify his own power and earthly security. He traded faith in the infinite for the cold certainty of a spreadsheet. He wanted to know exactly how much strength he possessed. And in that moment of profound human hubris, the wrath fell. 70,000 souls perished because a leader needed to measure his might. Now, step out of the ancient dust and look at the world we inhabit today. Look at the glowing screens in our hands. We are living in the most quantified era in human history. We are obsessed, entirely consumed by the endless pursuit of metrics. We count our followers. We measure our likes. We track our daily steps, our heart rates, our sleep cycles, and our bank balances. Everything we do is converted into a data point. We have become numbers in a vast, invisible digital census that never truly ends. But it is not just us counting ourselves. We are being counted by systems far larger than we can comprehend. Governments, corporations, and hidden algorithms track our every move. They know what we buy, what we fear, what we secretly desire in the dark. This modern obsession with data is not just a technological evolution. It is a profound spiritual shift. We are repeating the ancient sin on a global scale. We are trying to quantify the human soul, reducing the infinite complexity of life to predictable, manageable statistics. When you become a mere number, you lose your divine essence. You become a resource to be managed, a metric to be optimized, a target to be marketed toward. The modern world treats humanity exactly the way the ancient king treated his army. Like property. This brings us to the haunting visions found in the book of Revelation. The ancient text speaks of a coming system, a global beast that seeks total control. It is a system that demands everyone be marked, numbered, and categorized in order to participate in society. We have often misunderstood the concept of the beast. We look for a literal monster rising from the ocean, or a single political dictator. But what if the beast is a system of absolute quantification? What if Babylon is the ultimate triumph of the algorithm? The famous number 666 is often treated like a horror movie trope. But in ancient numerology, 6 is the number of man. It represents human effort reaching its absolute peak, yet forever falling short of divine perfection. It is the ultimate human system. It is a system that declares we do not need the divine. It whispers that we can measure, calculate, and entirely control our own human destiny. It is the exact same spirit that drove the ancient census, amplified by artificial intelligence and global surveillance. When a society attempts to control everything, it must first measure everything. The beast system cannot tolerate mystery. It cannot tolerate the unquantifiable nature of faith, love, or human freedom. Every soul must be assigned a value. Every action must be logged and permanently recorded. Are we not building this exact system right now? Every time we trade our privacy for a tiny bit of convenience, we are willingly stepping onto the threshing floor. We are submitting ourselves to the ultimate census, happily wearing our digital tracking devices everywhere we go. The ancient plague that killed 70,000 was a physical manifestation of a spiritual reality. When you trust in numbers rather than the divine, you invite death. You invite a spiritual deadness that slowly suffocates the soul. Look closely at our modern quantified society today. We have never had more data, yet we have never been more anxious. We have never been more connected, yet we are drowning in an epidemic of profound loneliness. We can measure our exact heart rate, but our hearts have never felt so desperately empty. This is the modern plague. It does not leave bodies in the streets, but it leaves hollowed-out souls wandering through digital corridors. We are suffocating under the weight of our own metrics. The anxiety of constantly being measured, judged, and ranked is destroying our collective sanity. We curate our digital lives to project perfection, but behind the screens, we are terrified. We fear that if our numbers drop, our worth vanishes. We have tied our fundamental human value to a system that does not love us and never truly will. The apocalyptic visions of Revelation are not just predictions of future doom. They are a mirror held up to the human condition. They warn us of what happens when the systems of man replace the sanctuary of God. When Babylon becomes our trusted home. Babylon represents the illusion of human self-sufficiency. It is the city built on commerce, exploitation, and endless counting. In Revelation, Babylon falls in a single hour. All its wealth, all its data, all its supposed security crumbles into dust when the divine reality finally breaks through. The modern Babylon is the cloud. It is the vast networks of servers storing our entire lives. We trust it implicitly. We believe that if we have enough data, we can predict the future. We can cure all diseases. We can finally conquer death itself. But this is the ultimate illusion. Data cannot save you. An algorithm cannot grant you peace. When the storms of life truly hit, when grief, loss, or existential dread come knocking at your door, your metrics will offer absolutely no comfort. They are entirely hollow. Think about the moment the ancient king realized his tragic mistake. He saw the angel of death standing between heaven and earth, a drawn sword in its hand, hovering over the threshing floor. The terrifying realization that his numbers could not protect him from divine judgment. His vast army was completely useless against the plague. All his calculated strength evaporated in the face of spiritual reality. He had to fall on his face by the threshing floor and build an altar. He had to return to sacrifice humility and raw faith. Where is our modern threshing floor? Where is the place where we realize that our technology, our wealth, and our data cannot save us? The threshing floor is where the wheat is separated from the chaff. It is the place of painful, necessary stripping away, perhaps the rising tide of mental health crisis, the breakdown of social cohesion, and the pervasive sense of global dread are the shadow of that angel's sword. We are being shown the profound limits of our human-built systems. We are feeling the plague of spiritual emptiness. The beast system feeds on our fear. It tells us that the world is chaotic and dangerous, and the only solution is more surveillance, more control, more data. It demands our absolute allegiance in exchange for the illusion of total safety. But safety is a myth. When you surrender your soul to the system of counting, you become a slave to it. You live in constant fear of being canceled, downgraded, or deleted. You conform to the algorithm. You let the machine dictate what you think, what you feel, and who you are. To resist the beast is not necessarily about hiding in the woods or throwing away your phone. It is a profound internal rebellion. It is the refusal to let your worth be quantified. It is the bold declaration that you are more than your data profile. It is reclaiming the mystery of your own existence. You are a divine spark, an unrepeatable miracle, a soul breathed into existence by the creator of the cosmos. You cannot be reduced to a string of ones and zeros. You cannot be owned by Babylon. The story of the 70,000 is a chilling reminder of the danger of human pride. It whispers across the centuries, warning us against the seductive trap of measurable security. It challenges us to look at where we truly place our trust in times of crisis. Do we trust the system? Do we trust the empire of metrics? Or do we trust the invisible, unquantifiable power of divine love? The choice is not just an ancient historical footnote. It is the defining spiritual battle of our current technological age. Look around at the architecture of our modern world. Everything is designed to keep you scrolling, clicking, and generating data. You are the product being harvested on a massive digital threshing floor. The system extracts your attention and leaves you spiritually exhausted and deeply empty. Revelation speaks of the merchants of the earth weeping when Babylon falls, because no one buys their cargo anymore. Among that cargo, listed at the very end, is the most chilling commodity of all: the bodies and souls of human beings, traded like simple commodities. We are those souls. Every time our outrage is monetized, every time our insecurities are targeted by personalized ads, we are being traded in the digital markets of modern Babylon. The system thrives on our spiritual decay. It profits immensely from our continuous internal apocalypse. But the apocalypse is not just destruction. The word itself means an unveiling, a revelation of truth. The pain we feel in modern society, the anxiety, the burnout, the deep sense of meaninglessness, is the apocalypse happening right now within our own hearts. It is an unveiling. We are realizing that the promises of the modern world are entirely false. The technology that promised to connect us has isolated us. The data that promised to secure us has enslaved us. The sword is hovering, and the plague of emptiness is spreading rapidly. King David stopped the plague by offering a sacrifice. That cost him something. He refused to offer God something that he obtained for free. He understood that true redemption requires a cost. It requires the surrender of our most prized possessions, our pride and our control. What must we surrender today to stop the spiritual plague destroying our generation? We must surrender our obsession with being seen, measured, and validated by the machine. We must step off the digital scales and refuse to be weighed by the metrics of a fallen world. We must return to the quiet, unquantifiable spaces of the human heart, the spaces where prayer happens, where deep, uninterrupted contemplation takes root. The beast cannot enter the silent sanctuary of a soul that is anchored completely in the love of the divine. The mark of the beast is often debated as a physical microchip or a barcode, but symbolically, the forehead represents what you believe, and the hand represents what you do. To take the mark is to align your thoughts and your actions entirely with the world's system. It is to accept the world's transactional nature, to believe that you are only worth what you can produce, earn, or display. It is the ultimate spiritual surrender to the empire of counting, a complete abandonment of the grace that cannot be earned or measured. Conversely, Revelation also speaks of those who have the name of the divine written on their foreheads. These are the ones who refuse to be numbered by the beast. They belong entirely to God. Their identity is secure in the infinite, completely beyond the reach of algorithms. They understand that the only census that truly matters is the one written in the book of life, a book not based on earthly achievements, wealth, or social media influence, but on grace, faith, and the quiet surrender of the human will to divine purpose. as the world accelerates toward total technological integration. The pressure to conform will only increase. The system will demand more of your data, more of your attention, and more of your soul. The illusion of convenience will mask the heavy chains of absolute digital control. The tension is building. We are standing on the precipice of a new era, where artificial intelligence and biological tracking threaten to merge. The ancient prophecy feels less like a distant myth and more like tomorrow's headline. The architecture of Babylon is nearly complete. Will the sword fall again? Will there be a sudden, catastrophic collapse of the systems we have so proudly built? If the power grid failed tomorrow, if the data centers went dark, who would you be? Without your digital footprint, do you still exist? These are the terrifying questions the modern mind desperately avoids. We drown out the silence with endless noise because the silence forces us to face our own vulnerability. We are fragile creatures, living on a fragile planet, pretending we are immortal gods of technology. But the ancient story offers a profound glimmer of hope. The plague stopped at the threshing floor of Araunah the Jebusite. That exact location later became the site of the temple in Jerusalem. The place of judgment became the ultimate place of grace and divine communion. Our current crisis, our modern plague of anxiety and digital enslavement, does not have to end in destruction. It can become our threshing floor. It can be the exact place where we finally realize our desperate need for something greater than ourselves. A place of renewal. We can choose to build an altar in the ruins of our digital exhaustion. We can reclaim our humanity by logging off, stepping outside, and looking up at the unquantifiable stars. We can rediscover the profound beauty of being known by God rather than tracked by machines. Imagine a life where you no longer care about your earthly metrics. A life where your worth is not tied to your productivity or your popularity. A life where you are completely free from the exhausting demands of the modern Babylonian system. That is true spiritual freedom. It is a freedom that terrifies the world, because a truly free soul cannot be manipulated by fear. A person who does not fear death, who does not fear losing their social standing, is entirely immune to the control mechanisms of the beast. They are untouchable. The 70,000 who fell in ancient times stand as a silent monument to the danger of human pride. Their lives were tragically cut short because a leader sought security in numbers rather than in the divine shadow. We must not repeat that fatal error today. We are not numbers. We are not data points. We are not resources to be extracted or commodities to be traded. We are living, breathing spirits, carrying the eternal breath of the Creator within our lungs. We are infinite mysteries wrapped in mortal clay. Let the system count its gold. Let Babylon build its towering servers and perfect its predictive algorithms. Let the world plunge into the cold, sterile future of total quantification. You do not have to participate in the madness. You can choose to walk a different path entirely. Walk the path of the unmeasured. Love without calculating the return. Give without keeping a ledger. Pray in the secret silence where no machine can ever record your thoughts. Live a life so deeply rooted in the eternal that the modern world simply cannot comprehend you. The ultimate rebellion against the beast is a life of pure, unquantifiable grace. It is finding joy in the small, hidden moments that will never go viral. It is looking into the eyes of another human being and seeing a soul, not a networking opportunity as the shadows lengthen on our modern age. The ancient words of Revelation echo with increasing urgency. The text cries out for us to come out of Babylon, to leave the city of illusion, so that we do not share in her final, devastating plagues. To come out of Babylon is to detach your heart from the system of metrics. It is to stop measuring your life by the world's corrupt standards. It is a daily, intentional withdrawal from the noise, the panic, and the endless pursuit of artificial validation. Will you heed the ancient warning? Or will you continue to offer yourself to the digital census, hoping the system will finally validate your existence? The angel still stands over the threshing floor. The sword of truth is drawn, separating the real from the illusion. The day God killed 70,000 people was a dark and terrible day, but it left behind a lesson that could save our generation from an even greater spiritual death. The lesson that true security is never found in what we can count, but in what we cannot. The unquantifiable love of the divine is the only safe harbor in the coming storm. When the final system crashes, when the ultimate algorithm fails, only those anchored in the eternal will remain standing. The numbers will fade, but the spirit will endure forever. So let them count. Let the world obsess over its fragile metrics and fading statistics. You are known by name, not by number. You are held by a power that transcends every database, every empire, and every ancient plague. You belong to the infinite mystery. Who holds your number? Does it belong to the system that sees you as a mere fragment of data, easily replaced and endlessly manipulated? Or does it belong to the Creator, who counted the very hairs on your head with profound, intimate, and everlasting love? The sky is darkening again, not with rain, but with the heavy clouds of a world losing its soul to the machine. But you do not have to fear the shadow. The threshing floor awaits. The choice is yours. Will you be measured by man or known by God? O divine Creator, who knows us by name and not by number, deliver us from the modern empires of endless counting. When we are tempted to find security in our metrics, remind us of the threshing floor. Strip away our pride and our reliance on the illusions of this world. Anchor our souls in your infinite, unquantifiable grace, that we may walk through this digital age with hearts fully surrendered to your eternal mystery. Amen.